It's dull. 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 My God, it's dull.
Wait. I already did that joke. Oh, I know.
That wasn't a good play.
I'll say. No kidding. Horrible. You said it.
But the effects were decent.
This movie in a nutshell. Okay, I have to be honest. I am not at all surprised that this movie is as horrible as it really is. I mean, the first one didn't have a whole lot going for it in the first place other than Charlize Theron's awesome performance. But really, there was no need to continue this story, much less to add on to this story, because there wasn't really a story to begin with. The first movie felt less like a movie, more like a pilot for a Snow White action-oriented television series. I mean, Snow White's motivations kept changing from scene to scene. It's painfully obvious that they made a lot of last-minute changes to this movie's script in order to emphasize the fact that it had Chris Hemsworth in the movie. And the mythology that the movie kept presenting had no consistency. After watching the first movie, I only had two questions. Why was Kristen Stewart doing the Lord's Prayer in a fantasy movie, and what was with that stupid iron monologue? Again, aside from Charlize Theron's awesome performance, this movie had nothing going for it. It felt like it was just an amalgamation of all the different fantasy tropes that were popular and were guaranteed to make money. And thus, it really felt like there was nothing else to do with this series. But, of course, if we've learned anything from Hollywood, they don't understand that. And so now, we're presented with a spin-off. Yes, I know it's advertised as a prequel, but it's not really a prequel. It starts out as a prequel, and then, look, I'll explain later. Now, as you would expect, this movie isn't just bad, it's worse than the first one. But the biggest problem here is that I can't explain why it's so bad without spoiling it. So here's what I'm gonna do. This review will be divided into two parts. The first part will be the Cliff Notes version, where it's the basic recommendation. Then the second part will be loaded with spoilers explaining why I think it's so bad. So if you are still at all interested in seeing this movie for yourself, just watch the first part of the review up until the spoiler warning. Then stop, go see the movie, then come back and see the rest. But if you're not interested in seeing the movie and you don't care about spoilers, then please stay tuned for the entire review. Okay? Okay. First, the Cliff Notes. It is horribly boring. The characters are dull, the script is stupid, the villain is lame. Actually, both villains are lame. There's absolutely no chemistry between the main love interest, and Charlize Theron does not have enough screen time to do her thing and make the movie bearable. It is a completely, utter waste of your time, and I do not recommend you see it. That is a short version. Now, if you are so inclined, please stay tuned for the full-blown spoiler version in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the story follows Elsa. Yes, I know she's technically not really Elsa, but look. She's a light-haired queen with vaguely defined ice-oriented powers that are controlled by her emotions. She has family issues up the wazoo, and Frozen is still making money. This is Elsa. Anyway, Elsa here is the sister of the evil queen from the first movie. The first half of the movie is their entire backstory, which is supposed to be the prequel part of the story. In her early life, Elsa had a young child that was set on fire by her boyfriend, and the trauma of the event activated her ice powers. Upon which time she decides that if she can't have a child, she will have an army. Thus, she heads to the north and creates her own kingdom, abducting children from all sorts of villages and training them to be her huntsmen. Oh, and in her kingdom, no one is allowed to feel love or feel any emotion of any kind. Get it? So a couple years go by, and the first batch of her huntsmen are trained. Two of them fall in love, the queen finds out about it, and she separates them through really, really dumb and contrived means. So the movie follows Chris Hemsworth here because, well, it's technically his movie. And we fast forward several years to after the events of the first movie, in which Chris Hemsworth Huntsman is contracted to find the ancient evil golden mirror. While looking for it, he finds his long-lost lover that he originally presumed to be dead. But then later on in the movie, she betrays him for reasons, and Elsa gets a mirror, which then reveals to be partially her long-lost dead sister. And they proceed to act all completely evil and stuff, and try to take over the world. And yeah. This movie's entire script is best summed up in 3 words. Contrived, forced, and lazy. The whole first half of the movie that's supposed to be the prequel part is just backstory, which could be its own movie. In fact, this movie feels like it's 2 movies that are crammed into 1 movie, when really they should have just been 2 movies. Kind of like a certain other major movie that came out earlier this year. The movie is loaded with little things that make absolutely no sense in this particular context. There's a scene when the good guys discover that a group of goblins have stolen a mirror, and one of the characters says, "Oh, there's no such thing as goblins." Now, call me crazy, but isn't this a fantasy setting that has weird-looking animals, magical queens, and fairies? Why would anyone doubt the existence of goblins? Isn't it like somebody in the X-Men universe saying there's no such thing as mutants? Or somebody in Superman's universe saying there's no such thing as a man who can fly? Little inconsistencies like that are spread throughout the entire movie, and it gets really obnoxious. Also, when the second half of the movie starts and it becomes more like the actual prequel to Snow White and Huntsman, it does this really annoying thing where it becomes painfully obvious that Kristen Stewart from the first movie did not want to come back for this, but they keep referring to her. And they keep referring to her kingdom. And they only show her like once, and it's not even really her. It's probably her body double, because you only see the back of her going, "Roar!" Guys, if you couldn't get Kristen Stewart, don't constantly mention her character throughout the movie. It's like the movie saying, oh, well, we wanted to get her back to make it an actual sequel, but we couldn't pay her enough. And then, of course, you got Charlize Theron's character, who was, seriously, the really best part of the first movie. Her performance was hilariously awesome. She's just soaking in being completely nutty evil, and it's so much fun to watch. And in this movie, she's only there for the first 30 seconds and for the last 5 minutes. Which is barely enough time for her to be on screen to watch her do her stuff. Instead, throughout the majority of the film, we're stuck with uber emo Elsa, who is just completely boring. Emily Blunt's performance in this movie, or lack thereof, is just so utterly bland, emotionless, lifeless, and dull that she ends up just dragging the rest of the movie with her, which is really unfortunate because Emily Blunt is a great actress. She can do some real awesome stuff. But in this movie, she acts like she's on Quaaludes, but not realizing she's on Quaaludes. She spends the entire movie going, I cannot feel love. I cannot have a child. And she'll occasionally have an outburst! She actually reminds me of Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending, and... oh, no. I just remembered Jupiter Ascending exists. And then there's a next problem with Chris Hemsworth and Jessica Chastain, who have no on-screen chemistry at all. The movie is relying heavily upon their relationship, and yet it's not even fully developed. It feels like watching a high school drama where two teenagers are forced to do a love scene in a romantic play, but they clearly don't want to do it, so they're just sort of half-assing it. But at the very least, Chris Hemsworth still has a little bit of charisma, so he's able to carry some of the dullness of the movie, but not a whole lot. And that's another thing. The movie does try to inject humor into a situation, but the jokes just fall completely flat. Look, I could go on about this for hours, but obviously none of us have that much time on our spare time, and I would really much rather not take up too much more of your time than I already have. So yeah, this movie is highly unrecommended. Just go see The Jungle Book again. It's a significantly better movie. Ladies and gentlemen, I am The Norm. Thank you all for watching.